Oh no. Oh no. It's Mrs. Salazar. Somebody hide me. Hello, Charlene. How is my favorite smiling sloth? I'm surprised to see you out of the house. You always say that you love to sleep in. Are you seriously trying to pretend that you are a zombie, Charlena? Are you trying to avoid watching my video about Kevin Rudd for our CAPE analysis? What video? Charlena, it's time to learn about Kevin Rudd. I've got a few minutes to spare just for you. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. Kevin Rudd was born on September 21, 1957, in Queensland. The youngest of 4 children, he spent his childhood on a dairy farm at Eumundi, on the Sunshine Coast hinterland behind Noosa Heads. Don't you think that's boring, Mrs. Salazar? 6 weeks after a treatment for injuries received in a car accident, Bert Kevin's father died from a septicemia infection contracted in hospital. Rudd was 11. His mother Margaret was evicted from the farm and the family, while searching for a home, slept in a car before finding temporary accommodation. A love affair with all things Chinese started at the age of 10 when his mother gave him a book on ancient civilizations. Rudd liked Chinese culture? Yes. After high school, Rudd hitchhiked down the east coast and eventually reached Canberra, where he enrolled at Australian National University and studied Chinese language and history. He is fluent in Mandarin and was posted to Beijing as a junior diplomat during his time with the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade in the mid-1980s. That's pretty cool, I guess. How did he become Prime Minister of Australia? Good question. In 2007, Kevin Rudd raised his political sights and urged Prime Minister Howard to meet him in face-to-face debates, promising his countrymen he would put a fresh new face on Australian politics if elected Prime Minister. He called for a definitive exit strategy for Australian troops in Iraq and put forth a comprehensive healthcare reform plan. In the November 2007 elections, John Howard lost the election and Rudd was sworn in as Prime Minister on December 3, 2007. That's pretty recent. What was he most famous for? Leading up to the election, Rudd promised that he wanted to be a Prime Minister for Indigenous Australia. On February 13, 2008, he formally apologized to Australian Aborigines for the stolen generations and abuses they suffered in the past. What are the stolen generations? The term stolen generations refers to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians who were forcibly removed, as children, from their families and communities by government, welfare or church authorities and placed into institutional care or with non-Indigenous foster families. The forced removal of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children began as early as the mid-1800s and continued until 1970. Many of these removals occurred as the result of official laws and policies aimed at assimilating the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population into the wider community. Wait. You mean to say that it's only recently that the government has decided to say sorry for this? That is just so wrong. Why did it take so long? Before Rudd, the Prime Minister was John Howard. Howard said, "I do not believe, as a matter of principle, that one generation can accept responsibility for the acts of an earlier generation. I guess that's true that many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were actually better off because they were removed from bad circumstances. It is true that some Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children were removed from their families on genuine welfare grounds. It is also true that some children who were removed gain access to some advantages such as increased educational opportunities. But evidence shows that the overwhelming impact of the forced removal policy was damaging. Some people involved in the removal of children because of their race genuinely believe that they were doing the right thing. As we now know, they were not. The apology speech was provided by Kevin Rudd in recognition of policies of past governments. Has the apology speech made any difference? The apology speech was an important step towards building a respectful new relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. Respectful relationships are essential if we are to solve persistent problems. In this way, The apology lays the groundwork for us to work together more effectively towards achieving better outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians. It was an important starting point in healing the wounds of the past and a historic step forward for our nation that we can be proud of. That was actually quite interesting, Mrs. Salazar. Oh, I know. Hopefully you are more keen to watch my video and take a few notes for our discussion on Monday. We'll see. Bye, Mrs. Salazar.